Game week 24 feels like a massive week in FPL. We've got huge decisions to make around our chip strategy, but also around our transfers, our teams we're targeting, perhaps our teams where we're offloading assets from. We're going to talk about Liverpool and Man City assets, a big dilemma for me. So look, first and foremost, let me just show you how I got on in game week 23, and then let's talk about my overall strategy moving forward and where I am with the wild card. So look, game week 23, a nice green arrow for me. I was fortunate that I had a combination of a couple of differential players coming in for me. So Szoboszlai at my rank, 3% owned, 13 points. Enzo only in 1 in every 5 teams, 8 points. Mukiele continues to pick up points, but Virgil and O'Reilly picking up points too. So very happy with that, despite the Saka captaincy blank. And I was so up for going for a differential captain. Obviously, a lot heard the news about Haaland not starting, took the armband off him. I still felt like I should start him. I thought he could get 20, 30 minutes and score. But I was never going to captain Haaland. And many that went away from Haaland went to Thiago, blanked. They went to Saka, blanked. Some went to Ekitike, benched 1 point. So, yeah, it was a low-scoring game week from captaincy. But as I said, a few coming in for me. So very happy with the points I got. And moving forward, my team looks now, I think, better than what I thought it looked a couple of weeks ago. Because a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't getting returns from Virgil, from Szoboszlai. Seeing those guys get returns makes me a little bit more confident on the moving forward. Now, in the last couple of weeks, I have used a couple of transfers. My plan ahead of game week 22 wasn't to sell Cunha and buy Enzo, but I did it because we got the early team news. Same again. I sold Foden for Bruno because we got the early team news. Now, with those two transfers in mind, Enzo and Bruno, they were players I planned to bring in on wildcard game week 24. I already now have them in my team. So my team now looks slightly better than what I expected it to look. I planned to roll transfers, and wildcard 24 was top of my list. Now, I still think it's a very good play for some teams, but for me and the team I've got right now, I don't think I necessarily need to wildcard. Sure, I'm probably selling 8-9 players on wildcard, but the players I'm selling, many of them I don't necessarily have to sell. They're not emergency sales. Players like Szoboszlai, like Virgil van Dijk, like O'Reilly, I'm probably Ekitike, probably okay owning for a few weeks still. So that's where I'm at. I don't think it's going to work for me. If you are interested in wildcarding or you are wildcarding, I've done a wildcard video, which I'll link at the end of this. And it is a very good team that is genuinely tempting me. But I think wildcard 32 for me still is the strategy I'm going to go off. And if you're wildcarding now, you can still have the same chip strategy as me. I'll wildcard in 32, but around the doubles and blanks, you can still get a similar looking team. If you're wildcard 24, make sure you go into 31, 32 with 5 free transfers. And then you can pretty much use the same chip strategy. Maybe you will have 1 fewer doublers or blankers, whatever. So look, let's have a look where I'm at with my current squad. Because I've got 2 free transfers. I've got money in the bank, 0.6 million. But I've got players that I'd like to sell this week. Now, I'm going to go through the individuals that I think could be sold this week. And rather than show you all the combinations I could make this week, I'll do that in my team selection later in the week. I'm going to today talk about the players that, 1, I might get rid of, and 2, the players on my watch list, the players I want to buy this week. And I'll only be buying 2 of them, 2 free transfers, remember. So players that could be sold. Let's go through the obvious ones. The obvious one is Lewis Potter, right? I bought him in because of AFCON. He was starting instead of Dango, who was at AFCON. And Lewis Potter was great for me. He got me 2 6-pointers in the 3 weeks I owned him or wanted to start him. But he needs to go. O'Reilly doesn't necessarily need to go. It was obvious O'Reilly had his rest at the weekend. He looked good against Wolves. Straight away, I was like, yeah, okay, he needed a little break. But Aït-Nouri being back, Ake now not playing centre-back because Guéhi's there. So Ake, Aït-Nouri, O'Reilly, there is only probably 1 spot in the team for those 3 players as things stand. I'm not sure I want O'Reilly long-term. But again, against Wolves, and he's done this a lot for me, a 6-pointer. Beggars can't be choosers there. Szoboszlai has been fantastic in the last... He's been fantastic all season. He's just not been a fantastic source of FPL points. And that's been an issue. But at 6.6, half the reason I had him in my team, he was on pens and he got his penalty. He hit the crossbar. Now Mo Salah's back in the team. Szoboszlai loses pens. He's still taking half the set pieces. He's still on free kicks. And we saw an assist from a corner and a goal from a free kick. Indirect, but goal from a free kick. He's Liverpool's best player. They're playing a 4-2-2-2. And he's in one of those creative 10 spots. They're so unpredictable, though, Liverpool. And I don't know what I want to do long-term with both Szoboszlai and Ekitike. And you could even put Virgil in that category. I look at their fixtures. They're all right. A couple of home games, Newcastle City up next. I'm going to see how they look in the Champions League before deciding if I want to sell a Liverpool player. Ekitike's just had his rest. So again, you could argue moving forward looks good. And Liverpool, remember, this is from Lego Mane, this graphic. They don't have a midweek round of game between 24 and 25 because they're not in the EFL Cup semi-final. Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle all have a midweek game next week. Liverpool don't. They get a nice little rest. We can see that run of green there. This graphic from Lego Mane is really useful. But we can see before, from game week 22, they've had a really busy schedule. Hence, Ekitike was rested against Bournemouth. And that didn't go too well. So look, I could be open to selling Szoboszlai. I could be open to selling Ekitike. Lewis Miley is the other one. I like having an enabler. And Lewis Miley's great because he's playing. And with Joel Linton potentially injured and Bruno G potentially still out, Lewis Miley's going to get a ton of starts. And he nearly scored at the weekend. Ideally, I don't want to be selling Miley because for 4.4, I think he's amazing value. But I do have that 8th attacker slot in Mark Guiu. You could argue Lewis Miley could go up to someone more expensive that I want to play each week. And at times, I can play a back 3, a midfield 5, and a front 2. But they're an option. Whilst I don't want to sell Szoboszlai or Miley, there is a need for midfielders. I have so many midfielders I want to buy this week, and I'm going to go through midfielders in this video. So whilst I don't want to sell Szoboszlai and Miley, sometimes you have to sell good players to get what you think will be better players. And we'll do a pretty good, thorough roundup on midfielders that I like this week. Guys, I'd love you to hit those buttons. Please do hit the like button. It helps me out lots. But the subscribe button too would mean a lot if you fancy subscribing to my channel. Thank you very much for doing so. I've popped the mini league code at the bottom of the screen for those that want to join. It's OAD0FX. So now let's go through players we like and players I could buy this week. We're going to start with defenders because I'm very likely to make a defender transfer. I'm very likely to make a midfield transfer. So let's go through my list of targets for both defense and midfield. And remember, the combinations I haven't quite worked out. I don't want to make my bed and give you options because Champions League will matter. I want to see Liverpool play. I want to see Man City play. I want to see the minutes. So let's have a look, shall we? Trevor Chalobah, second best performing defender in the game. He's been unbelievable. I was worried about buying Chalobah 2 weeks ago and last week because I didn't quite know what Rossinha was going to do with his centre-backs. I want to know. They've got so many Chelsea and they still could buy this window. I want to know he's nailed. Every time he's played, he's looked really good. And again at the weekend. Against Palace, he was Chelsea's best defender. He's pretty damn nailed now, I would say. John Terry actually did a video on how good Chalobah was on social media after. If ever you need a nod to recognise a good centre-back from one to another, it's John Terry. So look, Chalobah's a DEFCON beast. He gets DEFCON more often than not. In fact, when you look at Chalobah's recent games, like he's such a DEFCON magnet. And I don't think we knew we were going to get this from him, but his DEFCON in the last few weeks, 13, 11, remember, he only needs 10 to get the additional 2 points. 13, 11, 12, 10 in his last 4. And before that, an 8. And then it was a 10, a 13, and 11, another 8. Like, he's always there or thereabouts, but gets it like 70% of the time. So his floor feels like 3-4 points every week. And then you do have a ceiling. Because he gets clean sheet, he does all right with the bonus. His passing stats are good. And he offers a little bit of goal threat, Chalobah. So look, he's quite highly owned at 20%. But if I'm buying a defender and money's not an issue, Trevor Chalobah is top of my list. Homes versus West Ham, Leeds and Burnley in the next 4. If I can find the money to go Lewis Potter up to Chalobah, surely I'd do it, right? If I can't find the money and I need a cheap defender because I'm being ambitious with my midfield targets, it's a slightly different option. It's someone like a James Hill. 3.9 million. Bournemouth are top of the fixture ticker. That's unbelievable, by the way. Bournemouth being top of the ticker. Like, we don't really have many Bournemouth players in our teams right now because, well, we all had Semenyo. We sold him. We flirted with a few others, haven't we? But Bournemouth aren't really on anyone's radar. I think that maybe they should be. Maybe they should be. When you look at that fixture ticker from Fantasy Football Scout, game week 24 to 31, which would be the blank, Bournemouth are top for attacking fixtures. Wolves, Aston Villa, Everton, West Ham, Sunderland, Brentford, Burnley, Man United. Now, James Hill has started the last 5 games. He is new first choice alongside Senesi. So again, like 3.9 million, very good at DEFCON. You can look at Hill. It was Diakate. They paid good money for Diakate in the summer. He might be starting next season. He started this season, but he's had a few bad games. he was a replacement bought in when they sold their two centre-backs, didn't they? First choice two to PSG and Real Madrid. So Diakate came in, he's not a starter. So Alex Jimenez is good. He's playing as a right winger, 4.5 million. Senesi's the best of the bunch, 4.8 million. But if money's an issue, and this would be my cheap alternative to, say, a Chalobah, then James Hill, started the last 5, 90-minute man. DEFCON in those 5 games, 11, 9, 11, 18, and 13. So he hit DEFCON in 4 of the 5. And in the one he didn't hit DEFCON, he got a 9. His DEFCON is up there with Senesi. Bournemouth centre-backs clock DEFCON. So cheap defender option, expensive defender option. How about Man United defender, Harry Maguire? Back in the mixer, player of the match against Arsenal, 4.3 million. Again, cheap defender option. If you can find the 0.4, surely better than Hill. The fixtures aren't quite as good for Man United. They're middling. Fulham, Tottenham, West Ham, Everton, Palace, Newcastle, Villa. But the form's definitely there. They've just beaten Man City. They've just beaten Arsenal. And Harry Maguire will get DEFCON. He will clearly get some clean sheets, but you will get some goals. When we talk about centre-backs winning aerial duels in the opposition box and scoring headers, I think Gabriel, I think Van Dijk, and third to that, I think Maguire. Now, Van Dijk's only just scored his first goal of the season, thankfully. I've had him for ages waiting for that. Gabriel, we've seen, always scores 5 goals a season or feels like he will. I feel like Harry Maguire's going to get a couple of headed goals this season. So again, a little bit of goal threat for Maguire. Now, many weren't looking at Maguire because if they were buying a Man United defender this week, they were buying Patrick Dorgu, who unfortunately now is out for 10 weeks. Not fun. Dorgu owners have to sell him. Dorgu buyers, hopefully you didn't go too early on that one. We weren't sure. Carrick told us it was cramp. Just remember that. We all thought it might be a hamstring injury. The commentator said so. Post-match, Carrick said cramp. When new managers come into the league, I'm always really keen to know where they fit on my radar for manager that gives us complete clarity, like Enzo Maresca used to do, or manager that feeds us rubbish because they don't want to give too much away. Arteta, Pep, Eddie Howe. You don't listen to a word they say. In fact, the press conference for an FPL manager is kind of pointless from those managers. I wonder if Carrick's going to be one of them because he told us it was cramp. Clearly, it wasn't cramp. It was quite obvious it was a hamstring injury, and 10 weeks doesn't look fun. So look, no one's buying Dorgu now, but maybe what does that do? Well, let's talk midfielders, shall we? I'm going to show you some midfielders that I like, and I've got graphics for them. But before I do, I'm going to mention a couple of others. Well, if Dorgu is out, does that lead us towards opening our eyes more to Cunha? Cunha wasn't getting in the 11 because Dorgu was in it. Not to say they were playing the same role. They weren't. We had Ahmad one side, we had Dorgu the other. We had Bruno in the 10 and Burmo as the number 9. And when Burmo comes off, Cunha comes on. And we saw that against Man City. We saw that against Arsenal. Carrick went for the 2 wide forwards that will track back, that will be disciplined in Dorgu and Ahmad. And again, they've both played wing-back this season quite a lot because they're very good defensively, but we can play them front 3 because they're also exciting in attack. And Dorgu has been exciting with his 2 goals in the last 2 games, wonder goals, 2. Is there a like-for-like replacement that can do that at United? No. You're not going to start playing Luke Shaw or Dalot in a front 3. So I think the obvious thing to do will be to move Burmo to the left and play Sesko number 9. Moving Burmo to the left and play Cunha number 9, or play Cunha on the left. Now, when Cunha plays on the left, it's a different role to Ahmad and to Dorgu. He's not going to track back quite the same, and he's not going to hug the touchline. He's going to play inside. Maybe Shaw needs to overlap more. There's going to need to be a tactical tweak, is the long and short of this. But maybe there always planned to be a tactical tweak. Maybe he wanted those 2 wide forwards against Man City and Arsenal because he knew there would be a huge amount of defending to do and they can come and double up on the opposition winger. You know, when Saka's got the ball, Dorgu can double up as a left back alongside Shaw. And we saw that against Man City and we saw that against Arsenal. But at home to Fulham, maybe the plan was always to play Cunha on the left anyway. My point being, we can now look at Cunha as an option as well as the obvious. If you don't own Bruno, you're buying him this week. And Burmo's a very good buy. And now maybe more of a 90-minute man because maybe Cunha doesn't come on for Burmo because Cunha's already in the 11, although Sesko could come on for him. But the midfielder I really like that works best for my team, and this is my transfer plan. So whilst I could sell you the idea of buying all the others, Amad Diallo, so much cheaper than Burmo, so much cheaper than Cunha. don't go buy Ahmad instead of Bruno. But Bruno and Ahmad feels like a nice level of United attack commitment. It's what, 15 million of your budget? If you go Bruno and Mbermo, it's a much bigger chunk of your budget. Ahmad and Bruno feels good. And I think Ahmad's a 90-minute man, give or take. Like, he got 87 and 90 in the last two. I fancy what he can do, and especially without Dorgu, in terms of a wide forward that can track back, a wide forward that can take tactical instruction defensively as well as offensively. Ahmad does that in abundance. And I'm delighted that he's only had 5 points in the last two games. Because if Ahmad had scored in the last two games, he wouldn't be 6.2 million and everyone would be buying him and he wouldn't be 1.4% owned. I love how differential he is. I'm so tempted to buy Ahmad this week. And so far, and look at all my midfielders, and I'll give you a conclusion at the end of this video, there's a very good chance Ahmad comes in for Holmes versus Fulham and Tottenham. Remember, no midweek football for Man United. They benefit so much in weeks when the likes of Tottenham and Aston Villa and Crystal Palace and Forest have midweek football, as well as all those in the Champions League. 9 of our teams in the Premier League have midweek European commitments quite often. Well, Man United get a full week on the training ground, and that's going to benefit players like Ahmad. Really exciting. The fact he's blanked. No one's looking at him. 1% owned. So excited to possibly buy Ahmad this week. So look, Ahmad's of interest. And Burmo's still of interest if money's not an issue. And I think Cunha could still be as well. But doubling up on the Man United midfield could be really fun. But let's look at some players outside of Man United, shall we? First up, Morgan Rogers. I keep watching Rogers going, how's he not in your team, Gianni? Why don't you own him? Feels so obvious. Playing number 10 for a team that's banging form. They just went to Newcastle and beat them 2-0. They're surely going to get Champions League football. Some might say they're still in the title race. I don't think they are, but they're playing so well. And Rodgers playing as a 10 is really good. I don't like him out wide. When he plays out wide, he drifts in field anyway. Could he be on pens? Tielemans hasn't got the best penalty record. Maybe has picked up an injury. We don't know. I think he takes the next pen, Rodgers. If Tielemans isn't on the pitch, he definitely takes the next pen. Regardless, you get a free kick, you get shots from distance, you get the DEFCON at the weekend. You got DEFCON against Newcastle. So we got an assist and he's still got an 8-pointer. Clean sheet, DEFCON, bonus points. Morgan Rogers is everything you want in an FPL asset because he's also a 90-minute man. It doesn't matter if he's played Europe in the week. He's a 90-minute man. Now, 3 of the next 4 are at home. Again, I love that. Just like with Chelsea. I go, I want a bit of Chelsea, 3 of the next 4 at home. It's why I bought Enzo like a couple of weeks ago. Brentford at home, Brighton at home, Leeds at home. I need an Aston Villa attacker for that run. That's an awesome run. Brentford look poor at the weekend. Brighton always give you chances, as do Leeds. Those 3 home matches can be targeted, and then go into Bournemouth, always goals in those fixtures. I want Morgan Rogers in my team, but he's not cheap, 7.7. And he does hurt you, and he does well, because the 30% that own him are mostly engaged managers. They're managers that have bought him in the last 10 weeks, not those that bought him in the first 10 weeks and now aren't playing. You're up against 30% ownership here that will only increase. And then, of course, loads have Ollie Watkins too, right? So there's about 50% ownership there on the Aston Villa attack. If you don't have a slice of that and they go big in those games, it's going to hurt you. Now, don't go buy players because you're worried about fearful of ownership. Go buy players because you think they'll get points. Do I believe they get points in these games? Yes. Now, Tammy Abraham coming into Villa, is it going to eat into Watkins' minutes? Not massively straight away, I don't think. But of course, a little bit. Given the choice, it's Rodgers all day long. However, for some teams, it will be easier to accommodate a Watkins because you've got an XTK you might want to sell. Or a Thiago you might want to sell. Some might want to sell a Haaland. Squeezing in Rodgers in a midfield that's stacked, you've already got lots of picks, is much, much trickier. And of course, there are other midfield picks. So let me just name a few. Semenyo. I would love a punt on Semenyo. When I look at the Man City attack, I'm not interested in Cherky. I've sold Foden. Reinders has been and gone. The one guy we know is going to start every week is Semenyo. 1, because he's playing so well. 2, because they've just bought him and clearly he's been given some insurances and he's flying this season. But 3, also, he's not been playing in the Champions League. He ain't going to play against Galatasaray on Wednesday night, which means he's banker for 90 minutes. Now, at the weekend, non-Semenyo owners got away with one. Hit the bar very, very close to a double-digit haul. Instead, he gets the 1 goal and he didn't get bonus points. If he hit that one that hits the bar when he cuts inside and it's going top corner, if that goes in, that's not an extra 5 points for Semenyo. That's an extra 8. That's 3 bonus points as well if that goes in. Fine margins. Us Semenyo owners got away with one. Harry Wilson. How is Harry Wilson still not in loads of teams? Harry Wilson, like, again, he scores that free kick goal and it's not a 5-point goal, it's an 8-point goal. These players that do so well in the underlyings of the bonus point system, when they get that one return, they go up to 3 bonus. I captained Saka at the weekend. His underlyings were so good. I just needed him to get 1 assist or 1 goal. And his 19 BPS would have gone up to in the 30s. And straight away, it's 3 bonus. So that 3-point assist Saka could have got would have been a 6-point assist, or his 5-point goal would be an 8-point goal. Harry Wilson's the same. He's blanking until the 90th minute, but he scores the free kick, and his 2-pointer becomes a 10-pointer because straight away those bonus points are secure. Now, Wilson is 23% owned. The fixtures aren't bad, but he seems to just keep scoring goals. So I like Semenyo. I like Wilson. Of course, there's other midfielders of huge interest. But I think for my team, the ones that I'm looking at are Ahmad and Rodgers, I think. So when I look at my team, and guys, thank you, by the way, for hitting that subscribe button today. If you've got a comment, do drop it below and I will respond. Final shout out. I forgot to plug it. Apologies. If you want to know more about memberships, you can scan the QR code. But extra video content, loads of good stuff for members. Extra videos I'm doing 4 days a week, I'd say, for members-only videos. So check that out if you want to become a squad member or ultras for the WhatsApp. I'll leave the QR code on the right-hand side. Let's talk about my team then. So this is how I'm set with no transfers. And let me tell you about some of the combinations I could use here. So I've got 1.6 million in the bank. Sorry, I've got 0.6 million in the bank with 2 free transfers. Now, I don't know if I want to sell Szoboszlai, but he is the one midfielder I'd be up for selling. I can't sell Saka with the double around. And again, I quite like his fixtures and he's had his rest now. I ain't selling Bruno or Enzo. And Lewis Miley, I would be open to selling, but I'm not going to get a huge amount there, right? It's 4.4. Szoboszlai is the guy I can sell that gets me to a Man United midfielder, that gets me to a Rodgers. So one option I'd have is Szoboszlai to Rodgers, Lewis Potter to Maguire. Exact funds to do that, and I could be doing that later in the week. Those players aren't due to rise or fall yet, so I'm good. Szoboszlai's due to rise. Another option, I could sell Miley. And get to an Ahmad. That gives me a very good midfield 5 moving forward, and would mean I'd probably have to play a back 3 quite a bit. But I could sell O'Reilly to Hill. We spoke about Hill early, 3.9. So option 2 is still an option there. And option 3 is I just keep the midfield as it is, keep a Szoboszlai, and I sell an O'Reilly to a Chalobah. I've got the funds to do that. Oh, Chalobah's 5.6 million, remember. Or an option 4 could be I get rid of an Ekatike and get Watkins in. And then I maybe sell Lewis Potter to whoever. I could sell Lewis Potter to Maguire. I like Ahmad very much, and I like Rodgers very much. I just can't have them both. And I think my decision will probably come down to who I believe I need this week. Is it Ahmad? Is it Mbermo? Is it Rodgers? I think it's probably Ahmad or Rodgers, and I just need to make a decision there. Tough one. Very, very tough one. If I could get Ahmad in and Chalobah maybe is an option. Szoboszlai to Ahmad, O'Reilly to Chalobah could work. I can't wait for my transfer plans, my team selection, sorry. I'll do that obviously after all the European football. So that will drop on Friday. So I look forward to giving you that. Let me give you my 2 pence worth on captaincy. As things stand, I'm on Bruno. I like the midweek rest that just Haaland doesn't get. Haaland going to Spurs is absolutely a captainable fixture. Ekatike versus Newcastle could be good. Newcastle bad on the road. Saka away at Leeds, not looking at him. I don't like my captains away when they're not Erling Haaland. But Bruno at home to Fulham, it's just the routes to points. Bruno didn't do much in attack against Arsenal. Had a perfectly good game. But he had a chance of getting DEFCON. He just missed out. He still gets an assist. It's what Bruno does. At the moment, it's Bruno and Haaland vice. Let me know your captaining. Let me know your thoughts in terms of my transfers. And I will see you in a couple of days' time for my team section. Thank you for watching. Wildcard video being linked right now if you fancy watching.